right, guys, welcome to episode number 13 of the podcast. I am here with Luke Alexander.
Yes, sir.
He is another young hustler. How old are you? 21 years young, and he is doing it. Guys, you guys know this is the Never Been Easier podcast where we share stories of people that are doing it, that people that have taken that entrepreneurial leap, and we essentially just dive into their stories. So I met Luke through a mutual friend, and I've been following you on social media for a bit and seeing what you're doing, and I'm very impressed. So I'm very excited to dig into your story and to share it with people. So the why of why we do this is, again, when people see that you're doing it, that I'm doing it, that all of the guests in this podcast are doing it, it becomes more plausible in their mind that they can do it too. You know, so man, you got a rags to riches story. I've been looking into you doing research to the show. So take us to the beginning, man. Take us to when, dude, you're literally living in Ohio in a place that it has no internet. Just please take us.
So I mean, like how early do you want me to start? Because I mean, there's a lot to unpack and obviously people's paths. Like I'm open to anything. How deep do you want to go?
Take us to the beginning where you're still in high school and you're starting to become dissatisfied with the life that you're living at that point, and maybe you're starting to think like, man, like I don't want my life to look like this in the future.
For sure. So I think it started. I don't know if you had a crazy moment like this. I don't know if this was God, the universe, whatever. So I'm working at the YMCA. Like we'll skip like childhood from 0 to let's say like 17,
right? Just
to skip it because we can't talk about too much. Grew up really poor, abusive dad, like the whole like sob story that like people have, whatever. So I'm like 17 years old and I'm working at the YMCA. So I literally had like $100 in my account, if that, because I'm like going to school full time. I'm playing full time sports. We were a small school, so we didn't have like 5 varsity teams and stuff.
Yeah.
But I was like a regional champion in pole vault, was going to state for pole vault, was really good at football, like very, very active in everything, very active in school as well. And I'm like 17 working at the YMCA, and this guy gives me a book one day. Stuff has started to kind of like, how do you explain it? When you're young and you're poor, you don't realize it, but when you turn 16 and everyone at your school has a car and you can't get a car and you're like, Mom, like, why don't I have a car? I didn't even get my license until I was like 18 because it's like, what's the point of having a license if you don't have a car? When you hit that, you're like, damn, like this sucks, you know what I mean? So guy gave me a book when stuff started to kind of crumble. I just got cheated on. The car I did have that I had worked like all summer, I did like construction in the summers. So it would be construction, wake up at 5 a.m., I'm not kidding you, do like roofing or gutters on the side of buildings, go to 2-a-days in the evening. Like that was my summer to afford football cleats and stuff like that. I had a $500 Chevy Cavalier. It was 3 different colors. I'll show you a picture. And I wrecked it, found out I got cheated on, and then wrecked it in the same night. A deer, usually you hit deer, like sideways. A deer hit me. Like it literally ran into the front of my car.
What an asshole.
Yeah, like, dude, so my car's destroyed. Awful night. I was like 45 minutes from home, could only go 15 miles an hour back home. It's like 0 degrees. This was on New Year's. So first day of 2018, like that's how I got cheated on, and that happened. So I was like, fuck, like this sucks.
How old are you at the time?
So I was still 17 because my birthday's in February. Yeah. So I had like 2 months until I was 18. And that one night kind of shifted everything to where it wasn't like a like a success story of like, oh, I'm so motivated, I'm gonna do this. I was pissed. Like I was just furious. I was like screaming at God. I was like arguing with the universe. I was like, why is this happening to me? Like stuff's bad enough. Like why does this happen? And it was one of those things like, and I don't know whether it's like a thing people have or if it's like a inclination to something. It just motivated me so much out of just like hatred of what I had currently. I was like, fuck this. Like I've got to do the opposite of this. Like I've got to get rich. I've got to do whatever I can do because I don't want to feel like this ever again. So back to the YMCA. That happened. The next week, by chance, this guy, his name's John Paul.
Okay.
I love this dude. If John Paul, I will send you this podcast. He knows. Dude saved my life. I swear.
What book did he give you?
Rich Dad Poor Dad.
Okay.
So it's such a cliche, like, oh, my entrepreneur book,
It's
whatever.
a great book.
Well, bro, before that, and it sounds silly, like, we grew up in poverty, like, I love my mom to death, most amazing woman I know, but financially, she doesn't, or she does now, but she didn't understand, like, how to educate us about money or building wealth or whatever, because she didn't come from that, right? My dad didn't come from that. He was poorer than we were when he was a kid. So there was no like financial education. We were very smart because of my mom. She made us study. She made us do math. Like she made me read all the time. But I didn't know anything about money. Like I didn't even know how business worked.
Right.
So I read Rich Dad Poor Dad, and I remember vividly. My mom's in the kitchen. I'm in the living room, and it's like cold, like winter, like Ohio. Mm-hmm. So it's dark outside, and I'm reading the book, and dude, I literally started like crying, like at a certain part. And I looked at my mom, I was like, I'm going to be an entrepreneur. She's like, what is that? And I was like, I don't know, but I'm going to be it. Because just in the book. Yeah. So that book shifted everything. And from there, like we still had, 4 or 5 months of school until like May or something. Yeah. So instead of doing my schoolwork, I went from being a 4.0 student and thought I was going to go to college for track on a either pole vault or football scholarship to bombing my senior track season. And I also had an injury which played a part, but mentally I was tapped out because I had won regionals on a broken leg. So the injury wasn't like mentally I was done. I was like fuck sports. Like I want to get rich. Like I need to build a business.
So your energy, your focus shifted from school 4.0 sports to now entrepreneurship.
Yeah, because I read the book and I was like, why am I getting good grades? Yeah. Like I'd never actually thought about it. I hated school and I always had good grades and was like
still in the matrix.
Yeah, dude, literally, it's a life-changing thing. And I was like, why am I doing this? And I was going to go to school because I love sports and the body and athletics. I was going to be like an exercise science, like strength coach type thing. Like that was my goal, which is so stupid to think about now. I'd make like $40,000 a month, right. or a year, instead of a month now. and I was like, why am I doing this? So I started watching YouTube videos, and it's really cool. Like a lot of the guys I watched, is my friend Sebastian. You know Seb? His last name is like Gorjo or something. No. So he's on Twitter as well. Okay. Like we're friends now, and like we've chatted. Those were the guys I was watching from high school because I didn't have internet at home. Mm-hmm. So we had these little Chromebooks. I would just watch YouTube videos all day. That's all I did. I didn't give a fuck about school. My grades dropped. I didn't care about anything. I just watched business videos, e-com, drop shipping, SMMA, affiliate marketing, literally everything. Because I had to educate myself. Like, hey, there's a whole world of this stuff. Like I didn't know what it was. So that was kind of where we went. And then,
so what was that first step into entrepreneurship? Now that you're seeing holy shit, like there's all of these different business models, right?
Well, my brother and I we weren't entrepreneurs, but we were a bit entrepreneurial. Because I have some friends, we talked about this on the last podcast I did. They're like, yeah, I always did lemonade stands and this and that. I didn't do that. We sold stuff out of like necessity, like survival. So I was literally, I'm not kidding, I was selling guns to crackheads, like in rural Ohio. Like I would we had a ton of guns, like shotguns, rifles, whatever. I'd literally put shotguns in the back of my Cavalier and drive to this gas station called Tom's, which is out in the middle of nowhere, and like meet someone from Facebook and sell them a gun for cash and then go home. And I got robbed one time doing it. I tried to sell a guitar and they robbed me. My brother sold like 5 cars to crackheads while he was in high school. Yeah. Like that was the first thing we did. But actually, this is hilarious. I was at the YMCA. That's where I worked. I worked in the gym. I lifted. It was a good deal. And I had just bought a laptop. So I guess we would skip from, where would that be, like January to like May, something around then.
Still in high school at this point?
Well, May I graduated. Okay. So from my graduation party, I had enough money I think I had like $2,000 or something. Okay. That was the most money I'd ever had. I was like, oh, I'm rich. And I was weighing my options. I was like, buy a car for college, because I did end up going to college. Buy a car, like what do I get? And I bought a laptop, because I literally didn't have laptops. So like, you have this MacBook here, that's what I bought. Yeah. So I bought a laptop. I didn't have internet at home, so I couldn't use it at home. But I would go to the YMCA to work, and I would just sit there. Like that's all I did anyway. And I would just play on the internet. So the first thing I ever did, the first dollar I made online, was I started a drop shipping store, just from YouTube videos. Didn't have a course or anything. Taught myself Facebook ads. Mm-hmm. and I had a natural charcoal toothpaste or teeth whitening store.
Yeah.
And I feel terrible because I never fulfilled the order because I thought I did, but I didn't know how with Overlow or whatever.
Yeah.
And my first sale, it was like $29.99 or something. And I was just like at home one day and it popped up on my phone. I was like, Mom, like I just made a sale online.
That moment right there when you make your first dollar online.
Oh yeah.
It's a paradigm shift.
It is.
It's like I just got a stranger to put in their credit card onto a sales page and trust me enough to give me money. I remember like when I made my first.
What was your first?
So the first money that I made online, it was for a client.
Yeah.
And it was a chiropractor, and they were selling services. And up until that point, I had just been generating leads. But this chiropractor was like, I actually want to get paid.
Yeah. Before
someone comes into my office, and I was like, I got you. Go into YouTube. How the fuck do I do this? Right? And figured it out and made it happen. And I had no idea if it was going to work out.
Yeah.
Launched ads. First couple sales come in. Then like overnight, like I think we made like $250 that first night that we launched the ads locally. And I was just like I remember waking up and seeing all these sales, and I was like, wow. Like I personally couldn't, because generating leads, getting someone to give you their name, their email, that's something. Getting someone to give
credit
you
card
money, it's a totally different thing. So anyway, so you sell these charcoal toothpaste, or teeth whitening.
It was this lady in Texas too. Like I remember, I don't remember her name, but I remember it was in Texas. And then I got really busy, like moving to school.
Yeah.
So what I had done, and this is, let me get a drink really quick. Something I had done as soon as I knew I wanted to become an entrepreneur or do business. I had to game the system a little bit, and I feel kind of bad. I'll make up for it when I'm like super wealthy. I'll just pay for everybody else's school. We have these scholarships, especially in my hometown. It's called we have the is it the Garnett A. Wilson or the J.B. Wilson. Basically paid for most of my school, which I only went 1 year, but it pays for your school like $3,000 or $6,000, I can't remember, up to like a master's degree. Mm-hmm. And it's from this really successful businessman who was in my county back in like the 1900s or something, and he just left a big trust. Wow. They just have paid it over and over. But they pick one a year, like from each school, and there's like 4 schools in our county.
What are the requirements?
So it's not grade based. It's not academic based. Obviously, you have to have good grades and be like, hey, I'm not an idiot.
I can see them as chivious smile.
So it's based on your story.
Okay.
So you had to write. It was an essay competition. So something, because of my mom, like to play video games when I was little, I had to read like 2 hours to play for an hour.
Yeah.
So I was like 3rd grade. I'm not kidding. Reading like, did you guys have like AR or whatever? Yeah. I was reading like 12th grade books in 3rd grade. Wow. Like that was just a thing. You know what I mean? Yeah. So I was a good writer. Wrote this essay about like my story, what I wanted to do. Like, hey, this is why college will help me. I gamified it a little bit because I had to. You know, like obviously I was planning on dropping out of college, but I was very honest in the part of like, hey, I have to get out of this place to do something. Like, I can't make anything from here. So I got scholarship. I got a couple others, paid for most of my school, moved to Wright State, which is in Dayton, Ohio. So just literally up and left home, no friends, nobody up there. My mom's 2 hours away at this point, strictly to go get internet. I'm not kidding. That was the motivation. So I mean, like, what do you want to know next? Like, what happened?
So you go to college, right? Yeah. And your motivation's to get internet because you can't get that at home, right? Yeah. So I love the resourcefulness of fucking applying for whatever scholarship you can to find that next opportunity, right? So, okay, so you're in college, you have internet, you have your laptop that you spent your graduation money on. So when do you start your store? Is this before you go to college?
So I started the store before. Okay. And then this store kind of like just died. I just gave up on it when I moved to college because I was so busy. And you have to have money to do e-com. I didn't have any money. Yeah. So I get to school. It's fun. Like I partied for a little bit. I'd never partied in high school. So I partied. I was like, oh, life is awesome. There's all these girls. Like it was really cool. But then I was like, fuck, I'm still poor. Like I was like, get your shit together. You're still poor. Like you have nothing. So I literally, and this is where resourcefulness comes in. I was going to TJ Maxx and buying, It sounds so funny. There's this brand of camouflage. It's Under Armour. It's called Ridge Reaper.
Yeah.
And I knew this because I grew up like hunting and stuff.
Uh-huh.
In TJ Maxx, it was like $20. But MSRP, it was like $80 to $100.
Okay.
Just because TJ Maxx gets bulk deals or whatever.
Yeah.
I would literally get my friend's car in college, drive to TJ Maxx, use my scholarship money. Instead of paying for my school, it would hit my bank account to buy books and stuff.
Of course.
I would trade stocks with it. I would buy stuff at TJ Maxx and sell it on eBay for a profit.
Nice.
Like I was just hustling all this random stuff. And I built up enough money to where I got really serious with stocks, like trading options. And then I lost it all in one day. But I was making decent money. I was making like $1,000 here, $1,000 there. And at this point I was like, oh, I'm rich. Like I'm balling. Mm-hmm. So eventually it ended because we were in a bull market in 2018, so it's hard to lose. But as soon as things started, like we had a little towards the end of 2018, I remember there was not a depression, but a little, just like a dip in the market.
Right.
I started losing. And so I bet everything on NVIDIA stock one day to fall, and it went up, and I lost everything. So I'm like back to square one, going to class. I'm like, fuck this. My professors are idiots. Mm-hmm. Like, Wright State sucks. Like, I literally had professors that I was like, why are you even a teacher? And then they went on a strike for 2 months. We didn't even have class. Mm-hmm. So, like, it was just partying and trying to make money. That's all we did. You know what I mean? So, at that point, obviously that's fast forwarding a lot. But let's say it's 2019 now because we go through the first year or half of the first year. You know what I mean? Like that fall.
Yeah.
So, it's the beginning of the year. And I'm like, I'm dropping out. I have, like, probably $200 in my account. I was like living on tuna because my meal plan ran out, like cans of tuna and potato chips. Like it was rough. So I was like back to like the poor stuff where I had come from. I was like, nothing's changed. I'm just in a different part of Ohio. Mm-hmm. So I was like, I've got to make money somehow. Like I can't trade stocks or do e-com without cash. Yeah. So I had heard of this thing called SMMA or a marketing agency. Yeah. I was like, fuck it, I can do that. So oh, dude, this is crazy. Another universe thing. And I think this is a big belief. Like, I'm not going to go on a tangent. But I think if you try to do something hard enough or you want it bad enough,
for sure,
you just get little like, I don't even know.
It's help. It's confirmation that this is the right path that you're
you get like a little gold nugget every now and then. It's like, hey, here you go.
Right.
You just don't give up. Like, just keep going. Sure. So, you know Eman Godzi.
Yeah.
Awesome dude. Ton of respect for him. Somebody just randomly DMs me one day. And I had like 1,000 followers on Instagram. Like, it wasn't big like it is now. And it's a course reseller from like India. Mm-hmm. This dude, I swear I did not reach out to get this course because I didn't know that was a thing. I didn't know courses were a thing.
Right.
He messages me and is like, hey, here's this course for free. Mm-hmm. It was Eman Godzi's 6-figure SMA. Okay. He's like, here's his course for free. He's like, I'll give it to you, but if you want to buy any more courses in the future, just like come to me instead of somebody else. I was like, okay.
That's a pretty good business model because like I've gotten those DMs. They're always trying to sell you first.
I mean, it's a great business
model. I hate them.
I do too because I have a course now. Like I have to deal with that. Yeah. And I ended up, I did end up buying from him, so like I made it right, obviously. But that course I had it for free, and so we go home for like. Well, that would have been winter break. I'm getting like events mixed up because just the time is weird. I think I had gone home with the course. So I'd got the course before spring then in that situation. But I'm at home for winter break for like, I think it's like 2 months, right? Is that correct? Yeah. I can't remember college. It's just like so blurred. Yeah. So I literally would load the course up on my phone. Mm-hmm. Still didn't have internet. We had to put it in this one spot in the window. So like we had a couch in our living room. And in this window, if you put your phone there, you'd get like 1 bar. Okay. So I would like load up a video of the course, put it there. I had a notebook on the table, like taking notes. I would let it load for like 20 minutes and then watch the video and then repeat. Yeah. So because I couldn't just stream videos, which is ridiculous, but over and over. So I filled up a whole notebook full of notes. I was like, this is the business model. It's an agency. I'm going to provide this service. This is the niche I'm going to go after. I still had no idea what I was doing. Yeah. Get back up to college, and I actually started cold calling while I was still at home. So I didn't know what sales was. I didn't know what outreach was. Mm-hmm. And somebody told me cold call, like a YouTube video did. And I was like, okay, like I'll cold call. So that was my first taste of sales, was jump into the fire, cold call people.
Yeah.
So I was like, I'm going to go after realtors, like everybody and their mom does when they get into the agency game. So I'm sitting at home in Piketon, Ohio, no internet, just dialing. I was like calling 100 people a day. I was like, didn't even know what I was saying, what I was selling, what I was pitching. I'm just hitting the phone. So I met a couple people. I think this guy's name was Shelly, actually. Shelly, I think he called me recently too to check in, which is crazy, like full circle. But he connected me with a couple realtors and was like, hey, you sound like a good kid. I'll give you like a referral. So I ended up getting a client.
Again, the universe.
Giving
you those golden nuggets because you're fucking getting after it.
Yeah.
You know, like so many people when they're in your situation, they get into this sob story. Oh, woe is me. I'm a victim. Life sucks.
I've seen that so many times. Yeah.
But you're saying like no, right? I don't give a fuck if I don't get internet in my apartment. Like I will go to the window.
Yep.
I will go to where I get one bar. I will let the video load. I will watch the video. I will take notes.
Yeah.
And I will do it again.
Yeah.
Even if it takes fucking forever. This is why I wanted to share your story, guys, because like this is the mindset that it takes to bring a dream into reality.
Mm-hmm.
And not everybody, I'm sure at this point you see your past as a gift.
100%.
Because it gave you a hunger and a fire that not everybody has. Some people have it easy, you know, or easier than others. And I've noticed sometimes for those people, they don't have that fire of like, come hell or high water, I'll do whatever it takes to make this happen.
And that's a good point, you know, like I look at it now, I'm like extremely grateful. Like it was hell, I hated everything, but now like I laugh about it. Like I'm kind of messed up too. Just like whatever. That's just how
you wouldn't be here if it wasn't for that hunger, that anger, right? Of that situation that you were in at one point in your life. So go on. So the universe helps you again. Yeah,
the course, and then connections. So I get my first client, my first sales meeting ever. I still didn't know what sales was really. Right. I was just like, I'm just going to tell him my service and he'll pay me. I borrowed my friend's car. This kid at college, his name's Caleb. I borrow his like Cadillac or whatever it was. Drive it into like Beaver Creek, which is like, it's a nice town by Wright State. And I go to a Red Robin to meet this guy because he was like, come meet me at Red Robin, I gotta eat anyway or something. Right. So this dude's like eating burgers.
That's how serious he took the meeting.
Yeah, dude. I was like, I dressed up in the nicest clothes I had.
Of course.
I brought my friend Noah with me. So I go to this meeting, I've got my like notebook, I got business cards. I'm like, I'm ready to go. So I tell him like, hey, I'll run Facebook ads, we'll generate leads, the whole 9 yards, whatever. Yeah. He's like, cool, let's do it. And then I didn't get payment then because I didn't know I was supposed to. Yeah. He's like, let's do it. I was like, it's $500. He's like, cool. And then I leave because I didn't know like the protocol. Yeah. So, I mean, that was how I learned sort of the agency game was, and I'll fast forward through that because that's just tedious stuff, was just, dude, I just beat my head off of a wall for like, oh my gosh, that would have been from January to like May, June, July, August of 2019. Yeah. So I dropped out in like May, or when do you end your school year? Is it May?
Yeah.
Oh no. Oh yeah, it is May because I remember. So I literally drop out. I had $500 to my name. I think it was from that client or from another because I had just been trying to get clients. Okay. So I'm just trying the agency game. Like that's all I'm doing at this point.
So wait, I gotta stop you right there.
Yeah.
Why do you drop out? Where does the confidence come to make that decision? Because I dropped out too, and it's not an easy decision to make.
Yeah.
Especially if you got scholarships.
Well, to be honest, it was easy.
Okay.
And I easy is a relative term because it's based on perspective. Yeah. Like we were talking about the past thing, right? Mm-hmm. Dude, I like if I talked about some of the stuff I've seen, like people would not believe me. They'd be like, oh, he's making that up, whatever. Yeah. I've seen so much craziness and had it happen to me and my mom and my family. Like, literally nothing phases me at all. It's like people, like, I'll have business partners or I'll have friends or what. Like, even, like, our connection. Yeah. I've told him this before. I was like, dude, your problems aren't shit. Like this is nothing. Like, this is literally nothing. It's laughable.
It's power of perspective.
Yeah. So, like, my perspective at that point and still is like, I was like, okay, I drop out. okay, like what's the best thing that happens if I stay here?
Yeah.
What's the best thing that happens if I leave? You know?
Okay.
So I gave myself an ultimatum. That sounds ridiculous. I'm not going to say I was going to like shoot myself in the head or anything crazy, but in my mind, I'm not kidding. I convinced myself because I dropped out and moved into this apartment across the street called the Province. Okay. I'm literally not kidding. Like I laugh about it, like because I don't want to seem crazy, whatever. I literally convinced myself I was going to like end it if I did not get a client and pay my rent. Because I moved in with $500. Yeah. Guess how much my rent was?
$500.
Yes, dude. I literally have a screenshot on my phone. I had like $23 in my bank account after I paid rent for the month. Somehow they didn't background check me. They didn't credit check me. Literally nothing. And they just were like, oh yeah, you can move in. It's this much. Yeah. And I moved in, and the unit I had been in had been like destroyed because of a flood or something. Mm-hmm. So I kind of made like a backdoor deal with them. Like they'd get in trouble if they did this. No. It was really dirty, like drywall where they fixed it and everything in the apartment. Okay. So I literally made a deal. It's the universe again. Because if it was a normal apartment, I wouldn't have been able to pay. Yeah. So I made a deal. I was like, I'll clean it up and I'll like fix the walls and stuff if you just let me move in for $500. No like move-in fees or anything, because I didn't have it. Yeah. And they didn't know that. Because I just made a deal. I was like, if this deal doesn't work, I can't move in here. Yeah. So they said yes. I clean up the apartment. I like do some drywall stuff, like fix it, whatever. Which sounds so like trashy. Like it's the most random thing ever. But I literally moved in, got $20 all of May. I lived on spaghetti. I didn't eat. I literally woke up from 5 and I worked until like I had to like fall asleep. Like literally just going all day outreach. That's not the best thing to do. I could have been doing more productive methods of outreach. I could have been smarter about it.
Still for your social media
agency. Yeah. Okay. So, and even at this point, bro, like I didn't have like a defined niche. I didn't have a defined service. I was doing anything and everything to whoever needed it. Yeah. So I'm literally, that was the most stressed I'd ever been. Like that was bad, even for me. A month of like eating spaghetti every day, doing outreach all day. So I was getting banned on Instagram. I was sending so many messages, like DMs, like it was awful. It was terrible. Yeah. So it's like it's 29th of May, and the 31st I convinced myself like I was going to like end it. Mm-hmm. I don't know how, but it wasn't a joke. It was like you get a client and you pay your rent, or you're over, because I'm not going back home to Piketon, you know. Right. So I was like, this is it, or there's no plan B. This is it. Okay. So I love this dude so much. Another dude saved my ass. Scott Ballou. I'll try to send this podcast to him as well. It's the 29th of May. I owe rent on the 31st. I have literally like $0, like maybe $3 in the account in my bank. And I messaged this guy on Instagram. Like I could literally pull it up right now. He owns this brand called Spool Speed. Okay, it's an e-com brand. And I grew up fishing tournaments, like obviously from the country. So I was bass fishing all the time, like real like big time tournaments and stuff. Not like a little hobby. Mm-hmm. So I knew a lot about fishing and reels and tackle and whatever. So this dude sells bearings that go in your fishing reel that let you cast farther. Okay. It's such a niche thing, right? Yeah. Like nobody thinks of that. He makes like racks with it too. Like he does millions with it. Of course. Really successful. So I clicked on his Instagram page. I don't remember how I stumbled upon it, but I clicked on his website and I was like, this is the worst website I've ever seen. And he had like 50,000 followers. So I DM'd him and I was like something along the lines of, hey Scott, love your brand, love X, Y, and Z, but I think your website's like really bad. It's like losing
love your brand, hate your website.
Yeah. So I think he said, what's your number? Mm-hmm. So I left my number, and then the next day I didn't hear anything. So I'm like tweaking at this point. I'm like, it's fucking over. Like my life is over. Like literally.
How should I end it?
Yeah, dude. Like it's funny. Like I'm laughing about it. And I don't recommend people to do that. Like, that's not healthy. That's just kind of the mentality I have. Is like, there is one option. Like, there's literally one option. If it doesn't happen, I might as well just not play the game anymore. You know what I mean? Yeah. So the next day, I get a phone call from is it North Carolina or South Carolina? I think it's South. Because he lives by this lake called Lake Murray. I get this call. I'm like, who the hell is this? Pick it up. I'm like, hello. He's like, you think my website's bad? And I'm like, oh fuck, I'm about to get like yelled at, like my day's already bad enough. So I talked to him, I text him, I bugged him a ton, and eventually he gets on like a real call with me, and he's like, what do you do to it? He's like, have you done this before? I was like, yeah, like, sure, like my own Shopify site. So I was like, yeah, I've done this a couple times. He's like, how much will you charge me? I was like, $500. I didn't want to be greedy. I just needed to pay my rent. So I told him too, and this is a lesson for people listening. If you're in a situation like that, obviously, like when you try to get clients, you don't sell your clients. Yeah. But there is a time when you can be realistic with people. Like, hey, dude, I will go to the end of the earth to build this site for you. Just pay my rent. That's all I ask. You know? So it was one of those deals. He paid my rent. I'm like, oh, I can breathe. I have another 30 days to fight because I'm still back to zero now. Yeah. I built the site. It actually is still the same site, which is crazy. 2 years later. He's done millions through the site. Like, it's a good deal for him. He got the deal of a lifetime. But paid my rent. Man, I mean, this was May or June 1st. The next, I'll fast forward through that. The next, like, from June to, let's say, December of 2019 was just growth. Because I had made money. $500 was the most I'd made in a client. Scott sent me more referrals, $1,000, $2,000, $3,000.
And these are referrals for the agency.
Yeah, so I mean, my agency at that point was just me, you know?
Yeah, so at this point, the thing's growing. Like, you're getting the hang of here's how I get clients, here's how I fulfill for them, here's how I keep them for longer than 30 days.
Yeah.
Very cool.
So, yeah, I mean, I'm growing, I'm learning, I'm understanding more, watching more people on YouTube. Still kind of living like month to month. Like if I would have had a bad move, I would not be in the game, you know? Like, I would have been knocked out. Because my mom at that point, she makes decent money now. But at that point, we were still super poor. She couldn't help me if I needed it financially, and I had nobody else. So it was like, dude, you make it or you're fucked. Like, don't mess up, you know. So it's month to month. It's good. December, or November, October, I met this guy. His name's Zach Shade. Changed my life again. And again, like, there's a pattern here. You work your face off. Yeah. Do the right thing. You get gold nuggets, whatever you want to call it.
For sure.
Little like marks on the trail. Guy really opened up my mindset. Extremely grateful for him. I thought $10K a month was a lot of money. Like, I grew up with nothing, so I was like, $10K a month, $100K a year.
I think all of us did. You know, I think about this often because at one point, to me, $10K was the dream, and I was pursuing $10K, and I got to $10K. And then it started getting around like higher level people, and I realized $10K ain't shit. Yeah. And I know, like, that might sound like crazy to a lot of you guys, right? But you got to think about it. Society programs this into you. Like, what's a good job? A job that pays you six
doctor
figures,
or something,
right? Like
6 figures.
6 figures. You do the math. It's like, okay, that's like about like $10,000 a month, right? But you're literally thinking like this is a lot of money because that's what's been programmed into you.
Yeah.
And it's so interesting because all of your behavior is relative to what you think is a lot of money. So the quicker that you guys can break out of that, the quicker you guys will be able to crush that 10K.
Yeah, and that happened. Like literally what you just said, when your mind realizes that. Yeah. So I realized that because of him. Like, he was making like $100K a month plus, and I was watching it. Yeah. I was doing some free stuff for him. Like, I've been really good at getting mentors because I provide a lot of value for them, like the one I have now. But yeah, I mean, opened my mind up. My first 10K month, I think, was in November of 2019. So beginning of 2019, $0. I'm going to like shoot myself if I don't get a client. The end, 10K month. I'm like, wow, nice. I'm like balling. January of 2020, because that was the pandemic year. 20K in January. That was lucky. Zach just brought me a bunch of referrals and stuff. And then, I mean, I don't know where you want me to go from there. We can go anywhere.
So I'm going to do a quick recap because I love when you look at your story from like a higher perspective. You're seeing like first you start selling shotguns, and you're doing it out of necessity. Yeah. Right, but you're learning basic like, where is the demand for the thing that I'm trying to sell right now? The basic business skills, right? Then you're seeking this. I think we can kind of like narrow it down to freedom. Is what you're thinking, like seeking, both financially, emotionally. It's all tied together, right? And you're seeking it, and you start this e-com store, selling charcoal whitening, right? And there you're learning. Now you're starting to learn. There's so many
Facebook
skills.
ads, copywriting,
all
site
these
design.
different skills, right?
Yeah.
That then you carry over to your marketing agency.
Mm-hmm.
And you get to the marketing agency, it's like, fuck, like, what do I do? Right? It's like, how do I sell a client? How do I fulfill the service? How do I retain a client long term? And you're stacking all of these skills. And the reason I want to highlight this is because a lot of the times when people first get into entrepreneurship, they hope that it just works out right from the beginning.
Yeah.
Right? They don't realize that it's kind of a journey. A lot of times the business that you start with
it's not the one you end with.
It's not the one that you end with, but it's the one that gives you the tools so you're later in the road able to do the thing that your heart's like truly aligned with.
Yeah.
And I want to talk about that because you're doing that right now.
Yeah.
So you're at $20K a month with your agency, and I know you're about to start to get to a point in your life where that lack of alignment, it starts to get to you.
Yeah, it did. So that was like a 20K, and it wasn't consistent 20K months.
Yeah.
My biggest mistake with the agency game was I didn't have MRR. I had a lot of one-time stuff.
Okay.
It was like site designs or funnel builds. It wasn't ongoing ads or something.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, we'll just skip through. Like, so January of sort of 2020, made 20K, bought my mom a car. The universe is crazy, like how everything works. My mom literally wrecks her car the month I make 20K and have the money to be able to get her a new car.
Wow, what a blessing.
If she did it a month before, she'd have been screwed. Like, she wouldn't be able to get to work, you know?
Uh-huh.
So, bought her a car. That was an awesome thing. Bought myself my BMW, which was dope. I posted it all over social media. I thought I was the man. And now the car I have now, like, makes the BMW look like trash. And I don't even want to flex it. It's just funny how that works. But, yeah, so January to what would we say? June, again. Mm-hmm. June has always been like a turning point in the last 3 years, I've noticed. Because that's when I moved to Miami this year. Mm-hmm. So June of that year, I moved out of the shitty apartment, and I wasn't really in survival mode anymore. I'd had a couple 30K months. I had a 20K month. I think I had like 40K in the bank, or 20K, something like that. So I was like balling. I was like, bro, I'm 20 years old. I've got 20, 25, 30K in the bank. I got a BMW.
Most kids are in debt
in
college.
So like all these college kids are like, what do you do? And I'm like, I thought I was like the hot shit, you know? So I moved to this nicer apartment. It was like 15 minutes away from the old one. And then I thought life was going to get really good. I was like, oh, this is dope. And it did. Like, I'm very grateful. But I started to get burnt out. Like, I was making money. At that point, I wasn't in survival mode, right? Once you get out of survival, I didn't know what to do. Like, I had always been in survival mode. Yeah. And then once I had, like, made it, like, I hit my goal of 100K a year, I was like, what the fuck do I do now? You know what I mean? And that sounds so silly, but, like, dude, this is such a big thing because it's your mind, like you said earlier.
100%.
If you think your limit is 100K and you hit it, your mind doesn't have anything to chase. And like as smart as we want to think we are, we still have monkey brains. Like you have to kind of game yourself, give yourself milestones. So I hit it, and I started to get burnt out. Wasn't loving the clients we were working with. It was kind of a job at that point, making good money, but I was like, fuck, this is just not enjoyable. So the end of 2020, actually shut the agency down, and the reason I shut it down wasn't to start closing, which is, we'll get into obviously what we do now, but I had an offer from a guy who actually I met on Twitter. He's like 27. He's worth about 10 mil. Super successful. He runs a lot of e-com brands. Like, he built up a brand and sold it for 8 figures at 25. So that was something I always loved, was e-com, the creativity, whatever.
So you started.
Yeah, it's where I started, and it's probably where I'll end up, to be honest, because it's fun. But he gave me an offer, was like, hey, shut down your agency, fire your clients, fire your team, and run one of my brands. I'll give you equity, we'll give you rev share, and on paper, like we did the math, I'd have been a millionaire like this year at this time, if it had gone through. So 30 days go by, it's like during Black Friday season, I don't hear from the guy. After I fire my clients, fire my team, I have no income coming in. And then he texts me one day and is like, and I won't say names, obviously, like I'm not very happy with this guy, but he texts me one day and he's like, hey, I think I'm paying you too much. This is not a good fit. I was like, fuck. I was tapped out. The same way, like in track and football, I tapped out. I was tapped out of the agency game. So I struggled for the winter of 2020. I was like, I don't know what to do. I didn't really have purpose. I had enough saved up to where like I wasn't starving yet. Still paid my rent in this place. I was kind of just like, I don't know the best way to explain it, finding myself a little bit.
For sure.
Yeah.
It's like getting clear on what your next step's going to be. Can you briefly touch on that process? Because a lot of people that tune into this podcast, they're at that stage, you know, and there are things that you can do to kind of find that sense of direction. And
I learned them
and
for
that energy.
sure.
So can you just kind of briefly
I was so and I'm not a person that's like, oh, I'm depressed. Like I think mental health is a real thing. I'm just kind of a hard ass. Like I was depressed, but like when people tell me that, they're like, oh, I'm depressed, oh, I'm anxious, I'm this. Right. Like, you're just being a bitch. Like, maybe that's not the right way. Like, that's just my personal belief. I think you can fix those things.
I connect with that.
Yeah.
But there are true,
like, dude, like, you can go work out. You can take, like, there's cures to those, right? Yeah. It's not something you complain about and use as a personality type. Right. But anyway, I was really depressed. I was like, this sucks. It's winter in Ohio. Dude, it's 30 degrees outside. It gets dark at 4 o'clock. I had no friends here because, remember, all my friends were at college. And I moved away from college, and they all moved away because Wright State sucks. So I'm in this town by myself. I literally don't have a single friend. My little brother moved up, which was awesome. He's still in that apartment now. But I'm like by myself. My routine consisted of waking up, working on something that wasn't fulfilling me, go to the gym, come back, repeat, sleep. That was it. Like, there was no, like, here in Miami, oh my God, we drive around, we can go eat, we can go to the beach, we can do anything here. Sure. Sunshine.
Which goes to show like how much your environment.
And that's what I was going to say. You asked like what things you can do. Yeah. I got out of it because I basically got to such a low point. It was similar to the past. I was like, dude, quit being a bitch. Yeah. I literally like had one of those talks with myself. I was like, you're being a bitch right now. Like, fix it. Like, you're not making a lot of money. Start doing something. I was like, what are you good at? Sales. I was really good at sales. Even when I had my own offers, I was selling I don't know if you know this. We sold, or I told you this before, we sold like $10,000 webinars. My first big offer I sold was more than $2,000 was $10K. Yeah. Like, I'm on a call one day and I magically come up with an offer in my head and a price point of $10,000, and the lady says yes. Yeah. And I'm like, holy shit, like, I'm pretty good at this.
It's a paradigm shifter.
Yeah, that was a big shift. Yeah. So, I mean, the way I got out of it, I changed my environment up, obviously in June, but I had been flown to California for a client I was working for because I got into high-ticket sales, which is what we do now. Obviously, we'll talk a bit about that. The thing that always brought money in the door, and I'm sure it's the same for you, you can fulfill services, you can get referrals, but what's the one thing that brings money in the door? Sales. Whether it's outreach or actually closing a deal. That's the only thing that brings money in the door.
Volume and closing rate.
Yeah. It's literally the only thing. Yeah. There's no like alternate path. And I was really good at it. So I was like, you know what? I'll just close for somebody else. So I reached out to a couple offers that I had found on like Facebook groups and stuff. And they wanted me to start as a setter, which is the bottom tier. Right. And I was like, listen, guys, you don't know who I am. I was like, I thought I was hot shit because I'd sold like over 100K of my own offers. Okay. And I sold them on letting me take real calls and smashed it. March, I made $30,000 again. So I'm like back up to my level. I'm like, cool, it's going well. Made pretty good money. I was making like 30, 10, 30, 40, like just fluctuating. And we can kind of skip through that. I kind of tried to build a sales agency and then recently shut that down because I realized I hate dealing with clients. So I'm just not going to do it. Yeah. Moved, and this was the big shift. And I'd say for everybody listening to this, get out of where you're from. Obviously, I left Piketon, and it was good for a while, but still being in Ohio wasn't good enough. Like, the people were not the people I want to be around. Like, there's not people like you in Ohio, Aiden. For sure. There's not people like Ross behind the camera. Like, it's not like that. So you got to get out of where you're at.
It's that 10K phenomenon where it's like that environment, it's influencing how you think, how you feel, what you think it's possible. Yep. For me, moving to Miami, which I know is what you're
Where'd you move from?
Pennsylvania.
Oh, so you're from the Midwest too?
From like a little city called Reading with like 60,000 people, like a tiny town. And I quickly outgrew that, and I felt like, okay, like I need more. You know, like my environment, it's not giving me what I need.
Yeah. It's like the shark. What's the shark thing? Like,
yeah. So
if you keep a shark in a tank, it'll only grow as big as the tank.
Yeah.
If you put it in the ocean, it gets enormous.
It gets huge.
Same way.
So talk a little bit about that shift. You moved down to Miami.
Mm-hmm.
What happened?
Man,
next?
It's been a crazy 3 months, Abe. It's been crazy. So
and you just moved here.
Yeah, I moved here in June, beginning of June. So I came down in May for a visit. I was making good money closing.
Mm-hmm.
I was, and we're not just selling $3,000 offers. I was working with a client where I was selling $50,000 and $100,000 packages for like 10% commission. Mm-hmm. So like I literally sold a $100,000 deal, and like it's still kind of the same skill. Obviously, the higher ticket, that sort of investment style offer is a bit nuanced, but it's the same skill set as like a couple grand. But when you realize like, oh my God, I just sold $100,000 of something in 1 hour, like in a call. I just made 10 grand commission. Like
the commissions are way different.
Which to make the most money as a closer, I think lower is better, to be honest, because you get higher volume. Yeah. Those 10Ks don't happen every day, which you know. No. So in May, another guy I'm super grateful for. I'll show him this podcast, Brandon Condi. That dude has had the biggest impact on me of anybody thus far of people. And we've developed a really good relationship. Like I consider him a big brother. Like,
sounds like this was another mentor that came
100%. It just happens. Mm-hmm. I actually bothered this dude on Instagram for 6 months before May, and was just trying to sell for him because he sells a really high ticket offer. He's very good at what he does. I was trying to close for him, and he wouldn't let me. So I was like,
which is something that I want to point out.
Yeah,
a lot of people, they're at the effect of things. Mm-hmm. They're waiting for life to happen. They're waiting for opportunities to fall on their lap.
Yeah.
When you started getting into sales and they wanted to set you as a setter, you're like, no, right? And you kind of realize that in life you don't get what you deserve. You kind of get what you ask for.
Yep.
You know, a lot of the times, and a lot of the times it's like, not a lot of times, guys. You guys got to get in the driver's seat. You know, realize that you guys are in the driver's seat of your life, and that you guys can make things like this happen. You guys can create opportunities.
Because if you don't, who will?
So talk about this opportunity that you created for yourself.
Yeah. So I mean, there's a couple things I can't talk about publicly because they're on the back burner. Big stuff. But I meet him in May. I come to Miami for a week to visit, check out apartments, and I text him I text him. I was like, hey, I'm in town. So he comes and picks me up from my hotel in G-Wagon. I'd never been in a G-Wagon before. It's like, oh, it's fucking dope. So we actually went to Taco Bell, like in the hood.
In the G-Wagon.
In the G-Wagon.
Nice.
And I could tell the whole time, and this is a lesson for everyone listening, especially if they're like young and want to get a mentor. Dude was testing me. I could, because I'm good at sales, like social cues. I could feel it. He was testing me. Yeah. So this is crazy. I don't think you know about this yet. So he drops me back off that night. We didn't even talk about business. It was just like, just vibing, just chatting, whatever. Get Taco Bell, some Baja Blasts, whatever. Drops me back off. I get a text in the morning, and I brought a girl to Miami with me. So I was like lazy that morning. I'm like laying in bed with this girl, whatever. And I get a text. He's like, hey, come over to my crib in the next 10 minutes. I'm like, fuck, where do you live? So I drive to his crib, and I'd rented this sick M4 for the week, which was so fun. It was like bright orange. That's actually how I met Alex. I think we told you about that.
Yeah.
But I drive to his crib, which he lives like a minute from where I live now. Okay. Purposefully, I moved that close on purpose, and we'll get into that. But I get to his crib, dope penthouse. Like it's a corner unit like this, or no, it's not. No, it's not a corner unit. It's just got the like 20-foot ceilings. Yeah, it's like crazy.
Right.
So I'm like, what is this? Yeah. I was like, this is a thing. So we get in there, and the dude literally says, hey, this is a test. And I'm like, okay, like, what is it? He gives me $7,000 of crypto, of some like they're called shit coins.
Yeah.
He's like, transfer this to USD for me. Like, I don't know how. Okay. He's like, do you know how? I had just got into crypto. So I was like, I was like, yeah, I'll figure it out.
Always say yes.
always say yes.
Figuring it out's easy.
Dude, I didn't know what I was doing. Yeah. There was one point I thought I lost his $7,000 because I thought I sent it to the wrong. Yeah, I thought I sent it to the wrong wallet. But I transfer it back. I gave it to him, and then he's like, "Cool, will you do it for my lawyer?" So I did it for his lawyer too, all free because I'm trying to earn this dude's respect, his trust. So I sent it back, and then he's like, "Cool, come to Miami. We'll do some stuff, like hinting at things. Yeah. So I go back to Ohio for like a month, and then I was planning on coming down in August actually. So I would have just came down here, and my apartment here was like, you have to move in the next 30 days, or we'll just give it to somebody else because the market's so crazy. Mm-hmm. So thank God I looked at 8 places, didn't like any of them. I get a call from the dude now. He's like, hey, we got a penthouse. It's off market. You got to come look at it. And the rent there, now it seems like a small number, just in 3 months. Yeah. Dude, before I moved down here, I was like sweating bullets. It was like 3 times more than my rent in Ohio. I was like, oh my God, that's a lot. But I trusted the plan. I was like, if God's got me this far, everything's gone this well, we'll just go up a level. It's time to level up. Like, it's going to be uncomfortable. Let's do it. So I moved down here. I have no friends down here. I have no family down here. My mom is in Ohio. Like, I have nobody. So I moved down here, and then I'm working on something with this guy. That's all I can say. It's big. It's going to be life changing, 100%. Super big. But I mean, we'll talk about just being around him and the mentor thing. The biggest month I'd had before coming to Miami was $30K. I've made more than $100K the last 30 days, which is, in my mind, is like, holy shit.
And with a brand new product.
With a brand new offer. Okay. So like, we probably will, like, we've done 75K, 75K. We've already done this month 75K, and we have half the month left.
So let's talk a little bit about that offer, because a lot of people that tune in, they're looking to do something very similar. So Luke started this thing with his sales experience called Closer Cartel.
Closer Cartel.
Yep. And it is an information product in a sense, right? With an element of coaching. Yep. That you and I paid attention to the whole launch of how you launched this thing.
Did you see it on Twitter?
Yeah. So, talk a little bit about the creation, the marketing, and the actual, like, you selling $100,000 of this product.
Yeah, well, it's fun.
A matter of what you just
since I don't like talking numbers to like impress people. It's to impress upon, not to impress. Like, I don't want to show off numbers, whatever. Since I'll be transparent. Since Q1, July 1st, we've done 200. I actually showed him earlier. We've done 210,000.
Beautiful.
Since Q1,
which
is 2.5 months. Okay. Yeah, just Closer Cartel. None of my other businesses. Okay. Which I gave a couple of my clients to my friend who runs a sales agency. We've done some mergers and acquisition stuff, like super high level sales, like selling businesses. But that's just Closer Cartel. Yeah. So the reason we started it was, obviously I was really, really good at sales. It's a natural thing. I kind of had an advantage there, and then dialed it in with the companies I worked with. As a closer, your ceiling is 30 to 50K, depending on the offer you sell.
Right.
Obviously, you can go do SaaS sales and have a corporate job and make like $1 million a year. But to have this lifestyle, it's about the cap. So I was pretty much at the cap, and I was like, hey, like, I want to make more money, but I love sales. Like, how can I provide, and this is a lesson as well, money follows value. Always. Like, in the stock market, right? Yeah. Why do people make money on stocks? If you don't know how the market works, it's because when you sell, you're allowing someone else to buy your shares, and vice versa. That's value. Why do people buy coaching and consulting? Value. Why do you run ads for people? Value, right? So I looked at 2 things. I could go hard on the sales agency, provide value to clients in the form of running their sales process. And we tried that. And then we just had clients that were not good business owners. They just did not, like, they didn't think of things the same way we did. It wasn't a good fit. Yeah. And I don't like dealing with clients anyway.
It's a complicated business.
Yeah, it's not enjoyable. No. The other side was, we were already training our inbound guys for our sales agency. So someone had mentioned, like, why don't you guys, like, make a course about this? Because I at this point, when we launched, I don't know if you remember, I only had like 2,500 followers on Twitter, which was the bulk of where we launched. Because I'm just now going hard on Instagram and vice versa, whatever. So I was like,
you launched to an audience of 2,500.
Yeah. So, I forgot to mention, we actually did a beta launch in May and collected 30K.
Nice.
That was the idea. That was when someone was like, hey, why don't you open this up? So I had just got back to Ohio from Miami, and timing, again, I needed money from Miami. Boom, 30K just hits the account. I tweeted it as an idea. Yeah. And then it got that much traction. I was like, okay, we got to go balls to the wall with this.
So want to pause here.
Yeah.
You don't need millions of followers. So a lot of people that tune in, they hit me up and they see some of the clients that I work with, which literally have millions, but they don't know that I also have clients that are at 20,000 people, 5,000 people.
Sometimes they make more money.
Dude, yes, because the relationship with the audience and the brand is better than the people. I recently had to let go of a client that had an audience of almost 1 million people, but his brand, he wasn't disciplined with his brand, and he struggled selling a t-shirt. Like,
oh man,
you know what I mean? So it's not about the numbers, it's about the relationship that you have with your audience. And I want you to talk a little bit about that, because
we have a good one. We have a really good one.
Yeah, and without that audience, you couldn't have
done
that beta or launch.
Yeah, it doesn't matter how good of a product you have if nobody buys it.
Yeah.
Like, I made an agency course when I did 6 figures. Yeah. Because I thought I wanted to go. I've always wanted an info product because I love the business model. Thought that was the route to go, and then it just didn't get traction. People did not want it because I built it before I read the market. So this time, I let the market say, "Hey, yeah, we'll buy this." So I didn't even have a product created. Yeah, I sold it before I built it, and then we did $30K, and I was like, and that was a $1,000 price point. So not even, we're at $4K now,
which is it's a huge lesson in there.
Yeah,
I always have
sell it before you build it.
Sell it before you build it, and get that market feedback before you spend like months creating.
And I did that with the first one, so I learned the lesson. But what was the big question?
I want you to
relationship.
Let's spend a little bit of time on audience building, right? What's your thinking behind audience building? When did you start building your audience and that relationship with the audience? Because that's such a big part of making this work. Whether it's an info product, whether it's coaching, even consulting.
Oh, it's huge.
An audience is leverage that you can utilize to launch literally any type of online business nowadays.
Oh, dude, I could come up with a product for $100 today, and probably, like, I'm so bad at math. What's 100 times like 5,000?
It's like 50,000.
Is it 50? Is it 500?
500,000. Yeah,
is it 5?
Yeah.
500?
500,000.
That's why we hire accountants.
So I could probably do 100,000 or 100. It is 500K.
500.
I could launch a $100 product and probably do like a couple 100,000 because of how passionate they are. Those who can't afford Closer Cartel will buy this.
Yeah.
So I mean, you're right. That's massive leverage. I built it.
A little bit about that. Yeah.
I built it by being as real as possible.
Okay.
Like, and like, obviously, people watching this can probably tell. Like, dude, I don't give a fuck about anything. I just simply don't care about most like all these little problems people have. Like, oh, what will people think of me? Or like, you know, the little nuanced issues.
Yeah.
I just don't care about all of it. Because like I'm after one mission and nothing else like matters besides that mission.
For sure.
So building the audience was the same way. I was extremely, extremely transparent of my wins, of my losses, of my childhood. Like I put out a tweet the other day. I was like, I literally grew up on welfare, getting beat by my dad, and just made $75K in a month. Or maybe it was when I bought the supercar.
When did you start connecting with your audience like this?
Always. So, I mean, it was on Instagram, though.
Yeah.
So, like, literally from college, because I knew I wanted to build a personal brand, because I've got, like, personal brand courses and stuff. I've always shared stories of just, like, hey, it's what I'm doing today. And I kind of slacked off a little bit to build. But then I got on Twitter in 2020, the beginning, when I started to hit those 30K months with the agency.
Yeah.
I just started sharing my story. Like, this is what I'm doing. This is what I'm working on. This is how you do this. How you get good at XYZ. Just giving as much value as I could.
And building in public.
Building in public. But the distinction and nuance that I think people have to go towards now, and you'll see this as well. People are so fake. Facebook marketing. You build your Facebook profile, and it's the worst copy. Like, if you read the copy people put out, imagine saying that to a person.
Yeah.
Like,
right.
I can't give you an example off the top of my head, but it's just not.
It's very
real.
Corporate, right?
Yes, that's a good word.
For sure.
Dude, I throw curse words in my copy, and my mom hates it so much I cuss, but like, or curse.
It's so funny. He reposted this story of his, because he posted this girl, right?
Yeah, super. Like a beautiful image.
Beautiful image of this.
My mom was
beautiful
pissed.
girl. She was like, what the fuck, Luke? Anybody want to see this?
Yeah, she was pissed. But like, no. Like,
that's you. That's the realness that people connect with.
You literally be as real as possible. Like if I had to boil it down, this is what you do. You be as real as possible. Mm-hmm. You be extremely transparent. You be good at what you do. That's the biggest part. People try to launch products or offers, and they don't know what they're talking about. Yeah. Like there were these guys. I don't know if you saw this. I ruined the business of two guys. Because they had crossed me offline, and I'm a very petty person, and like I don't go after people, like I don't want it to sound like that. They were scamming people. They were selling sales training for $5,000 on Twitter to the same group of people, and they were scamming them. Like I got 30 DMs like, hey, these dudes just took my money and ripped me off. I shut them down. We posted a video. Somebody did a little inside job, got some dirt on them, posted the video, 50,000 views. Their business shut down. We saved a ton of people money. They tried to sell something before they were ready. Yeah. They had never been a closer before. They had never made $30,000 a month in commissions as a closer, and they tried to launch a product. So that's the other thing, is if you're going to launch something, you can build an audience without launching a product. Yeah. It's good to build and then sell.
For sure.
But be real to yourself and what you do.
There needs to be alignment. Like you can't be a 9-to-5er selling a course on entrepreneurship.
Yeah, like it just doesn't make any sense.
No, and a lot of people, I think, because you've been taking people on your journey, you've kind of created that alignment and that perspective of like, look, this is who I am. They've seen you fail. They've seen you succeed.
I've had guys watch me for 3 years.
Yeah. All right, guys. So we had a quick technical difficulty. The podcast is so good, my computer actually died, so we're cutting back into right here. We left off talking about your audience and how
like
being
real,
being authentic, sharing your story, and actually when launching a product, making sure you have the experience to launch that thing.
Which you would think would be a no-brainer, right? But people. You can't
They're not patient.
Yeah, you got to be patient. Yeah. And I'm the most impatient person ever. Like, realistic, like we launched it, right? First month we did 75K, like on launch. And technically before that we did about 30 of pre-sale. So about 100K launch. 85% profit. So like
this is from building an audience for 2 years?
2 years. Wow. But like, I mean, I had 2,500 followers in July. And now I've got 7,000.
So, I've noticed, especially when it comes to Twitter, as you grow quicker.
Oh, it's exponential. It's
right?
super exponential. Like, I'll probably end up at 10K in the next couple months.
Beautiful.
And I'm about to start tweeting more. I've taken a break because I don't want to burn out my audience. But I mean, what were we talking about? Oh, yeah, I've had, like, guys for 3 years. Followed me for 3 years. Like, I don't have fans. Like, that sounds so douchey to say. Like, I have fans. Like, I literally got guys in my DMs who were messaging me about Closer Cartel that I remember messaging me when I was in college trying to like trade stocks or something. Like they've been there that long. So when you've done that long and you have that resume and you haven't fucked anybody over and you've done things the right way, you've got really good leverage, bro. Like
something that I'm a big fan of and that I try to instill in everybody that I work with is understanding that reputation is everything. Dude, especially today.
Everything.
Because, guys, we live in a world where information travels.
And even if you're not guilty, if it comes out, it hurts you.
And it only takes someone like exposing you for your whole reputation, for you to never be trustworthy on the internet again. So, look, there's a couple things that I love about your story. The first is that I always talk about how nowadays things are happening a lot faster than they used to. There's a couple of different reasons. You can really boil it down to leverage.
The internet.
Like you're leveraging the internet, you're leveraging social media platforms, you're leveraging an audience, content, all of these things, right? There's a lot of people that see what I'm doing, that see that what you're doing, what all the people that I have kind of interviewed in the podcast, and they think that creating something like that, it's going to take so long. You know?
Dude, it's been, like, it's so crazy. I'm not even realizing it until we're talking. It's been 2 years, technically, since I've been in business. 2 years?
And you're 21.
That's crazy.
College dropout. hungry, which that's something that unfortunately you can't teach in a course.
No,
but I think you can develop that hunger within you. And dude, you are doing it.
Thank you.
You're doing it. The other thing that I love about your story, I'm all about mastering the fundamentals. Like, so many people focus on shiny tactics, Facebook ads, they focus on having a pretty website, funnels, color, optimization, like all these shiny things, right, that don't really drive the needle. And in your story, I saw that you learned product creation by creating the products for your agency, by creating a digital product for the charcoal whitening thing, and then for Closure Cartel. So you got product creation, you get the marketing down.
We did a lot for that, and I learned a lot of that. Are you in UpLevel?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I learned a lot of that from UpLevel too. Yeah. And then what we learned from UpLevel was what my old agency did. So I had built out whole education companies for, like, there's a guy, he's a massive real estate influencer. You probably know who he is. I may have told you. I built out his whole education company. The dude's done like millions with his audience.
So product creation, marketing,
funnels,
and lastly,
marketing,
sales. These are like what I think are the three fundamentals that anybody needs to master to really make it in the online space.
You want to know something crazy?
Yeah.
We've done the numbers we've done with Google Sheets. I have a couple closers that I trained. They use their phones. We don't even do Zoom yet. And Stripe.
That's
literally it.
You don't need to get fancy.
No.
The other thing that I love about your story up until this point, what you've shared, is the magic that's truly there whenever you go after it. And the universe truly does help you. Call it God, call it the universe, call it whatever you want to call it. When I look at, as you were sharing your story, it was like I was looking at myself in a mirror, because I too had those mentors that came into my life with the right book, with the right connections, at the right time, that allowed me to get to where I'm at today. But those mentors and those opportunities wouldn't have come into my life if I didn't take that first step and step into fear and approach the whole situation with I don't know what I'm doing, but I'm going to do it.
Yeah. And I mean, that's the biggest part where people mess up. I love analogies and frames because it's a sales thing.
Yeah.
But you have to think of your journey as like ladders or stepping stones. If I didn't start running, we'll start at the beginning. Watching YouTube videos allowed me to know how to run Facebook ads and set up a dropshipping store. That allowed me to know how to build e-com stores. That gave me the cash and the know-how to be able to sell a $10,000 offer. Where you start is not where you end.
For sure.
But you have to start. People, I get, dude, I'm sure you do too. I get hundreds of DMs a day of guys like, dude, how do I quit my job? How do I make money online? How do I do this? I'm like, what have you done so far? They're like, oh, nothing. It's like,
DM you.
Yeah, bro.
And they want to jump to where you're at.
You can't. You've got to do it the hard way.
Even if you were able to, you wouldn't know what to do with the situation because you don't have the tools.
Yeah.
And understand that whenever you want something, you might want this thing, but life takes you here, then takes you here, then takes you here. Because by going through those different steps, you're learning different things that you need to finally be able to handle that thing that you truly wanted. So I've noticed that we do get what we want, often not in the time frame that we want it.
Yeah.
But we do get it.
Yeah. 100%.
So I think this is a good place to kind of start wrapping things up. I would love to ask you a couple questions about Closure Cartel.
Yeah, for sure.
And then, I'll dive into other stuff. So, what is Closure Cartel? Just an overview for people that might be interested in learning sales, which in my opinion, guys, it's one of the top 3 skills that you need to learn.
100%.
It's not a business skill. This is a survival skill. If you can't sell, you can't eat. And it's something that, in my opinion, instead of learning advanced mathematics, they should have sales in high school.
If they taught that, they wouldn't have workers.
Right.
So
right.
That's just how the system is. And that's why I tell people sales is if I boil down the one thing that took me out of being in freaking welfare to the stuff we have now, it's sales.
Your story is a story of you selling yourself to get scholarships to get into college.
Yeah.
Right.
Selling your mentors.
For cash. selling higher positions at companies, right? And now selling your products to a market. So guys, this is one of the most important skills that you guys can learn. How can you help someone if they're interested in learning a little bit more about sales and maybe taking that next step towards really mastering this skill?
For sure. So our thought process on Closer Cartel was there's a lot of courses out in the market, right? SMA courses, whatever. I wanted to make something that was extremely simple in concept. Obviously, you have to put work in with everything, but we've kind of boiled down the path and made it as much of leading a horse to water as possible. They still have to drink on their own, but like we've boiled it down to where I think we have the best sales training program on the market. So what we do essentially, we give people the skill set, and which I'll explain how we do that. We give them the opportunities and the offers they need, and then we give them the community and the support they need to have success. So the way we do that, number one, the skill set. It's a course, recorded lesson library, whatever you want to call it. Right now we have about 20 plus hours of content. That's actual recorded calls I have closed of past offers with other clients.
Nice.
That is calls my partners have closed. Like we call that kind of like the closer film, kind of like sports or football. You can study it. Actual sales training, A to Z on how to sell, our sales process. What is high ticket sales? Tonality, objection handling, psychology, crazy stuff. How to get mentors and how to build relationships. We go outside of sales. That's just the recorded library. The cool thing about sales and the difficult thing is you can't learn it by watching.
Right.
It's like if I asked you to learn how to get good at basketball and you just watched videos, you would suck. Like you have to go to the gym and put up shots.
Right.
So we have a live coaching program as well. So we have 2 live calls a week, and it's designed to integrate with the recorded sort of information. And the analogy I use is like LeBron James. If LeBron James had a one-on-one lesson with a first grader, and he had a lesson with a D1 college player, who do you think gets the most valuable or value out of that? The college player.
Yeah.
You have to understand a concept to be able to practice and learn a concept. So with the course, we give you the concept. With the coaching, we dial it in. We put it into action because it's live coaching. You can ask calls. It's on Zoom. So 2 of those a week. They go on for like 2 hours, 3 hours sometimes. So it's a lot of time. And then the third part of that is, or third and fourth, is opportunities. So it doesn't matter how good you are at sales, you sell a bad offer. Like, honestly, and nobody will tell people this, the offer is sometimes more important than your skill.
For sure.
The Closer Cartel offer itself, like when people get on a call with me, I've closed people in the DMs without getting on the phone because just the marketing and the rapport is so good. Yeah. So we've partnered up with a couple of people. One is Closify. You should interview him when he comes down. He's moving the end of this month. One of my best friends, his name is Alex Hayden. Yeah. He has a SaaS platform that connects closers with businesses. It's meant for the business side, but we onboard closers. So we have direct exclusive access with this platform.
Wow.
Every single person that comes through Closer Cartel gets exclusive access to their offers. And they vet their offers at minimum of $20,000 a month.
So
the business.
Placement.
Yeah. So we literally train people. We place people. And then once they're placed, that's all they need, except they need to, what if they don't know how to handle a call, or maybe they're struggling this month with this, whatever. We have an awesome community. We've got 160 people right now, which is crazy. It's super active. It's like an Xbox Live chat, but they're talking about sales and life. They run mock calls with each other. We call it sparring partners. So once you get the skill set, you get into an offer, we help you consistently improve, practice, support, whatever you need to get to our goal, which is 10 to 30K a month. Profit, because it's commissioned, it's 100% profit every month. Realistically, even now, we've had a guy, he hopped in the beta group, or the early access, whatever it was, about 2 months ago. He just got a solar sales job. He's going to make $200,000 to $400,000 a year.
Wow.
The dude's never made more than 10K a month before this. That's insane.
That's significant.
Yeah, and obviously it's very early, so we don't have a year of track record of results for these guys. I think I'm at least this year I'm going to make over 100 people 6 figures.
That's huge, dude. I love the fact that you actually place people. I don't know that I've heard of any other programs that actually offer those opportunities.
Yeah, because we the SaaS platform is just one. We've got a couple other strategic partnerships that it's in their best interest to get people into good opportunities because they get paid for it. So everybody's doing their part. It's crazy. Like, everything came together to build this, and it's way bigger than I thought it would be, and it's obviously growing very quickly. We haven't run paid. We're on, like, one platform right now, like, and we're doing the numbers and the value we are. So, I mean, like, anybody listening to this, obviously, you can learn sales yourself. You can learn it on Google. I learned the hard way. It took me 2-3 years. But if you guys want, like, a shortcut, 100% we'd love to have you.
And guys, this is the power of mentorship. Like, guys, the only thing we can't get back is time. Mm-hmm. And what's the time frame that you take someone from?
So I get asked this every day. I've had kids literally come in 30 days, and they were good enough that I hired them myself, and they were making a couple thousand a month.
Beautiful.
Like 19-year-old kids. Yeah. And then I've had guys, it takes them 60 days, 90 days.
So you could choose to go the long way and maybe do a year, 2 years, or this is what I do when I want to level up in life. I look at the skill that I need to learn next, then I look who's the best person in the industry, and I just pay them. And that's the
best thing. Yeah. I just paid a guy I literally just paid a guy $10,000 to help me with the Facebook marketing foreclosure cartel.
So, dude, we almost had to rush through this podcast because there's so much to unpack here. Yeah. So I look forward to doing a round 2 with you.
Dude, I would love to.
Now, that said, what would you say to someone that is just getting started? Maybe they don't want to go into sales, but they want to go into the business side of things, or they are just getting started. You know, what have been some of the things that have really helped you? Whether it's mindset, habits, maybe ways of seeing the world that you would share with them as like a last little parting golden nugget that they can take away.
So I've got a couple like sort of principles that I constantly just think about. Okay. And I would say, like, obviously sales is I'm biased towards it. I genuinely think it's the best vehicle for anybody. Mm-hmm. Like, you're not going to end up being a salesperson forever, but if you're like a kid like me, there's nothing else. Like, I did the agency thing. There's nothing else that'll take you out of poverty that fast.
It's a great skill to learn.
Yeah. So
you don't have to build a business around it, which is nice.
Yeah. And my advice is find the right vehicle. Mm-hmm. I recommend sales. It can be something else, obviously. I'm sure there's a lot of other guests that come on here have great vehicles as well. Find the right vehicle. Learn from people who are where you want to be, and don't listen to anybody else. Yeah. Like, don't listen to your mom and dad. Don't listen to your family. My papa and my mom, before, now they love me and what I do.
Of
course. They thought I was crazy. They're like, you're not going to make that much money online. They thought I was nuts. Mm-hmm. So don't listen to people unless they're where you want to be. Yeah. Man, I mean, this is so like cliche and just like so simple, but legitimately the one thing that's gotten me where I'm at is I will not quit. Like, you have to kill me. Like, you literally have to kill me for me to stop going forward. Yeah. Like, I've got slowed down, like, mentally I was in a bad place, whatever. But, like, the day you quit is the day you die. Mm-hmm. Like, I don't care what you do, what your path is. The day you quit it's over. Mm-hmm. Like, you can come back, but it's so much harder. Like, life is not easy, and I really think, obviously you have, like, whole lifetime to try things. But if you really want to hit it big, like $100 million net worth, whatever, which is what I'm aiming for, you only get so many chances to do it the right way. Which, I mean, this is the reality, you know? So you can't quit. You've got to keep going. I don't know. There's so many, like, principles and nuances. Mentors, obviously.
Those 3 are excellent.
Yeah.
Yeah, awesome. Well, Luke, that's powerful conversation,
Thank you, bro.
man. Proud of you. Looking forward to seeing what you create in the future. Thank you for taking the time.
Absolutely. Man. Thank you, guys.
One last thing. Where can people connect with you?
So, Twitter, at Luke Alexander with 2 X's. Instagram at LukeAlexN. I don't have the handle yet. YouTube, Luke Alexander. Everything's basically Luke
I'll link to
Alexander.
everything in the show notes. Guys, thank you for tuning in. Take care.